Hi, everyone. My name is Jiayin Chen. It's such an incredible honor to be here speaking with my fellow panelists, Jeff Caldwell, Maria Popova, Vijay Krishnan, and the famous Judy man. A little bit about myself. I have always been working with artists using technology to create art. And I also have been writing about art and technology for many years. And now I'm the director of NFT at ArtNet. For those who don't know, if you ever look up anything about art, or you look up an artist, or read a piece of news, you probably have visited our website. We are founded in 1989, so it's 3 decades ago. We're pretty old, yeah, we are now the most read art website in our industry with 60 million users per year, and we have around 3.5 million social media followers across our channels. Yeah, I think we will all do a little bit of introduction, and then we start talking about our topic.
Hello, everyone. It's really nice to be here. This is my third time. I remember when this was an intimate event back in the day. I am the co-founder of Dada. Dada.art, which is a visual conversation platform where people speak to each other through drawings. We tokenized our first collection of NFTs, which were not even called NFTs in the day, in 2017. They're called the Creeps and Weirdos. They were the first collection to include royalties for artists on the secondary markets on the smart contract. And I think this is one of the reasons why I'm here today, because I'm not going to be speaking about Dada today, but I'm going to be speaking about my current project, which is an NFT novel. I am a writer as well as a co-founder in crypto art. And I wrote a novel in Spanish called Quien Te Manda, and we're going to be launching it extremely soon on the platform, which is a new publishing NFT platform. And so that's why I'm here to talk about building an authentic NFT project. Thank you so much for being here.
Want to go? Oh, hey, I'm Jeff Caldwell. I'm the co-founder of Immutable Image. Immutable Image is a blockchain-agnostic network bringing in a collective of the world's most iconic photographers. We're on a mission to do that in an innovative and fun way to create a really large, wide collector class. We have a really interesting drop. Have to pitch this on June 30th. It's the first one that Canon's participating. They brought 7 of their Canon legends, and these are, I think, really pertinent to this panel. There's no more authentic artist than a photographer that has a 60-year career and photos from their archives that stand the test of time. So we're offering that up in a way in a mint format that is more as a random mint event, a launchpad event. It's my 3rd time speaking at NFT.NYC. I've met Judy before in the past and love what she's doing. And I've just been very passionate and focused in this space about art, about real art, the pure plays. So from street art to photography, and excited to be here and talk to everybody.
Yay, super excited. Super excited to be here with such amazing panelists, and I'm sure we'll have an amazing conversation. But my name is Maria. I'm the co-founder of Shiny, which is a metaverse gallery, and Everyday Goddesses, which is a generative collection aimed at growing female influence in the space, empowering artists, and spreading cultural diversity, blockchain knowledge. So I'm really excited to talk about authenticity today, because while building Everyday Goddesses, our goal was to make this project really mission-driven from the very beginning, from the way we include diversity, different cultures in our art, to the way we design our smart contract. I really believe that authenticity, or building an authentic project, means building a mission-driven project and making all of your decisions based on those values and these missions. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this conversation. It's my first time at NFT.NYC. Yeah, that's me.
Hey guys, Vijay Krishnan. I'm the Director of Technology at Consensus, the MetaMask and Infura company, if you do not know it. So my background is very diverse. Spent 20 years in Wall Street. Accidentally, like many of you, got into the crypto one day, and I'm here sitting in front of you, today. Done probably around 50 implementations so far, all sorts, including NFT projects. So excited to be here and talking to this panel. This is beautiful people and a very diverse experience. I'll share my knowledge and experience on what I learned about NFT and my comments here. Over to you.
So should we start talk about our topic is how to build an authentic NFT project and what does this actually mean to each of us? I think authenticity is such a buzzword in the whole conversations around NFT, and for a reason, because it's really, we have seen the bull market, and now we're in a different scenario, but we really see a lot of projects that's actually lacking authenticity. So that's why I think people are talking about it as one of the core quality. I wonder what Judy has to say, because Judy has been involved in the scene since the very beginning, and from what I heard, the community at the very beginning, it's a very different thing.
It's really, really interesting to see how this space has evolved in 5 years. But in the end, when you talk about art, most artists, I believe, are authentic in their intention. Real artists that are exploring their own way to communicate. They found NFTs, they found platforms like Dada or other platforms, and they create art that hopefully is meaningful to them and to their collectors and their followers. I do make a distinction between crypto art, whether it's digital imagery like made painting or photography, and avatar projects like PFPs. I think that some may be very authentic. For instance, the CryptoPunks, which is a seminal and wonderful, and the project I think that made us all be here is a very authentic project, as are the Rare Pepes, which are the two biggest influences that we had in Dada. And I think that authenticity also has to come, for instance, when the project and the person and the intention make sense. When like I'm a writer, it made sense for me to. I wrote a novel on paper. It was published, and then it was Bea's idea, my co-founder. If you were here a few minutes ago, you saw a red devil on stage. It was her idea to turn this book into an NFT, and it makes perfect sense because I've been so long in this space, and it's a really nice evolution. So I think that it has to come from a place that is genuine, no?
Yeah, I agree, and I'll say something controversial. I think there is no art NFT. There's art. Art is art is art, and the NFT is the wrapper that delivers the art in a new way. And I think, and that was 3-4 years ago. We talked a lot about that, and of course there are plenty of things that NFT technology does, and the artist can engage with that. But when we talk about authenticity, talking to a lot of photographers this past year, and they're like, "What can I do? How do I make an NFT?" And I would say, "You do nothing. You've done it. You've created the art, and the NFT is the delivery system." Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that point. I think, we think about NFTs and art separately. It's not the right way. As you say, art is art, and art is authentic. Unless it's been stolen or something like that, but it is intrinsically authentic.
Yeah.
And I think an interesting distinction was projects and was one-of-one art, or just art in itself, in its own regard. That was projects. There's so many. It's more of a business, like a startup, a business project. So there you really need to think about your values, your USPs, unique selling points. You need to think about how is your product different. With art, as long as what Judy said, you're coming from a real place and it's your true creation. It's already authentic. But with a project, I really feel like it needs to be driven, mission-driven from the very beginning. So, for example, if you say diversity matters to you, your art needs to reflect that. So, for example, if it's a PFP, it needs to have the characters need to have different outfits from different cultures, different skin tones, stuff like that. So, really, all of your values need to come before the creation of a project. And I have a project, that's why I guess I'm talking from that standpoint, not after. So you really, before creating anything, you need to think about why am I creating this and how is my product different?
Yeah, to add to what the panel said, right, I'm just going to touch on a few technical points we should consider when creating an authentic NFT project. The tech already provides a good amount of authenticity in the industry. Right, and that's why we all hear the blockchain technology already provides you the authenticity to get started, and then be origin, and then providing provenance and tracking, and then going all the way to finding who owns the NFT from transfers to and all that. So what we need to do to make a successful and authentic NFT project is get your smart contracts audited, make sure it's bug-free, follow the best practices and all that. And this is what is going to help you launch a very successful project on top of an authentic NFT project.
Yeah, I wanted to say at ArtNet, we have been approached by many different interesting NFT proposals. So I think this is a really fascinating question. Like Jeff, you mentioned, there's no art NFT, but it's actually, we are just talking about art. But we've seen that there are, for example, that there are people would come to us and said, oh, I'm representing an artist, but he already passed away 30 years ago, but I think maybe we can mint his works as an NFT now, and we wanted to do another project launch. Or we have seen projects like, okay, now we wanted to tokenize a classical art painting from the 17th century. Then you came across really a lot of questions like, does this feel authentic? Like, what does it mean even that we wanted to tokenize a classical painting, for example, to 10,000 pieces?
That's a great question. I think it goes in the realm of permanence, right? I'm biased. I have a photography platform, but I think photography is a perfect art form for NFTs in the sense that it's always been a medium that's been transposed onto something else. So there's always been an image, and then you create prints, you create posters, you create books. So this is a new category, and it works for that. So if you have an archive of photography, it works in this space. If you're taking an old painting from the 1700s, what is the NFT of that painting? Now, there's a lot of interesting things you can do, but that event, I think, becomes a brand new. In my opinion, that becomes a brand new art piece. It's a photograph. It's an interpretation of that piece of art. There's a conversation around it. It could just be collateralized, which a lot of ways are going. So, yeah.
But I think that it's also interesting because NFT is not just this technology allows for different ways of experimentation, and I think that's when the authenticity also can come in, like where you're talking about mission-driven in the publishing house that is publishing me. They are like paper publishing house, but they're really interested on pursuing NFTs as a literary concern. But it's not only, so there's so many different ways in which we can collaborate with artists. So in the case of my book, I collaborated with an artist from Dada called Mojarra Gonzalez, who is pretty well known in the NFT space. He did an animated cover, and we're gonna do different NFTs, like maybe a short story that somebody else is going to illustrate. We are talking to small publishing houses that really cannot compete against the monopolies of publishing that are happening and struggling to survive, or writers that are unheard because, it's very difficult to get published. So just very similar as the NFT space was, or the crypto art space was 5 years ago, where artists found a complete new way, a new audience, new collectors, new community. That the same thing can happen for photography. The same thing I think could happen for music. The same thing I believe has to happen for publishing, because it really, all the decentralized nature, the peer-to-peer nature of it, the fact that, when we sell a book, I get my percentage, my editor gets his, we collaborate and we share the proceeds with everyone who collaborated creatively. That is, I think, also part of the authenticity of NFTs, that they allow you to do something that maybe was not done in the exact same way before. And you can, for instance, champion the people who are unheard. I really believe that this is going to happen. And imagine Stephen King putting out his short stories as NFTs, or J.K. Rowling and doing illustrated stuff. The publishing industry has to come around to it. But while that happens, the possibilities for unheard writers in different languages, writers coming together with their readers, that's what's exciting, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I really love that point. I think, it's the whole business structure that presents authenticity, that it doesn't have to be, the centralized power or a publishing house and a certain business model. My background is actually in fashion production, and working very closely with artists it's very similar model, depending on different projects, that you see that, the brand is really getting the rights, and they're getting the bigger piece of the pie, the artist is getting a smaller one. But here with NFTs, you really can play around with the business model in itself. So as you said, like collaborative projects with different artists, writers, musicians collaborating together, getting royalties, and it's very flexible, so you can decide what model works for you. So I think that's a very interesting aspect, not just art, not just the form, not the content, but the business model in itself can present authenticity.
And even like we are being published the book is going to appear at this platform called The Platform, which is a DAO, which intends to be like this community of people who are creating content for NFTs. It's going to be about art, but it's also content about NFTs, criticism, or, like stuff that when we started out in this community, we wanted to prove that you could sell these things. And everything was a marketplace. And in these marketplaces, they were built to sell and to prove that NFTs had a place. But now what we need is scholarship, or we need discussion, or we need engagement at a different way, in a way, for instance, that ArtNet could do or does in the traditional art world. So doing DAOs, doing collaborative projects, all of that is just not simply let's tokenize something. We were researching if there were any NFTs, any other book NFTs, and we saw that there were some instances of people tokenizing a PDF. And yeah, that's really nice, and the PDF can be nice.
Everybody's just commoditizing it, but realizing the content you can inform the community.
Right, right.
So the merging of a 1700 painting archive and a project like you're doing actually makes a lot of sense. So instead of just saying, okay, there's all these owners, it's, Caspar David Friedrich is a German romantic painter I like. I know there's thousands of people in the world that I don't know that happen to like them. Now, instead of, if we can take one of his paintings that's in an archive, everybody has an ownership of that, but it's also creating a community around that. And then suddenly you're bringing to life a lot of important things in interesting ways. And the world's very big. So it's, there's a lot of micro communities out there that can...
And the experimentation is the fun part, because you can play around with formats. You can play around with, in the case of literature, you can publish one short story, you can publish 3 poems, you can publish, you can do serialized content. I think it really lends itself because the digital nature of things is more pliable than what you need to do in order to get a book published of short stories. So that's where I think there can be a lot of flexibility and creativity.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like because the year of NFT was so, everything is so condensed and so much happened, the word NFT almost, it's inevitably have sort of, some kind of connotation associated with it. I agree with what Jeff, you just said. NFT in a way, I mean, it's a technology and artists should really focus on the art. But on the other hand, the technology also brings out the aspects that we, didn't have before, like the community building aspect. And I think when talking about the authentic art NFT project, it's great that, you focus on the art itself, or your art is really thinking about how it interact with the blockchain. But also, I think at this moment when we are seeing the market going through some correction, I think we will see more genuine projects coming along, and we don't necessarily need to have all the gamification or whitelist to everything, and we don't need to see if I buy one piece of tokenized NFT that necessarily has to go 10 times on the secondary market, because what I'm really buying is a piece of community, and that should be sufficient, and I love the art that I own.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing also, right?
Yeah.
The correction that's happening, because the consumer is becoming more educated, more experienced, the holder, the collector. So it's not going to cut it just to have a 10K project and follow all the usual rules. And it goes back to what Judy was saying about really think about how you're structuring it, how you design your smart contract, how do you advertise it, what platforms you use. Now we see a lot of NFT projects, swaying away from Discord and Twitter and maybe using other platforms like Telegram or YouTube, just seeing what works for your project. And I think what we're getting at, authenticity means that you design it consciously and design it in accordance with your values. And there are multiple layers, which is content, form, the business side as well.
But I also think it's interesting that we should talk about the authenticity of the collector as well. A lot of people get caught up in or at least got caught up in the bull market that we have. I don't know what's happening now, but and like what, like they buy, they hear about the PFP and they try to buy everything. And I always say, and I think the people in the crypto art world always say, but you collect what you love. You have to be also authentic about the projects that you follow and buy art or whatever it is, PFPs that you love, that speak to you, that if worse comes to worse and the bottom falls out, you still love the art that you bought. So I think that the authenticity and, collectors are always saying, what rights do I have? I want these rights. I want to exercise these rights. Well, you also have a responsibility as a collector to build community. You have a responsibility towards the artists or towards the creators. You have to think of the people who put the skin in the game, in the platforms. So that's how I think actual community gets built, because another overused word is community. The fact that you come into a Discord because you all want to buy the same thing is not community. Community takes time and relationships and love of the project and engaging with the artists and doing your research. So that's part of the authenticity.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, we leave the collectors out of this all the time, and we have a saying, we want to turn photography lovers into NFT collectors and NFT lovers into photography collectors. And I totally agree with you, Maria. Like this, the calming down of things is scary overall, but there's slow down. You're not going to miss everything. Go look what you want to buy. Enjoy it. You don't have to spend your life savings on something, but if there's something interesting, and that's how this is going to work for the longer tail, and that's how really good quality, authentic art is going to rise.
So on the closing note, I'd like to add something.
Please.
So the NFTs has actually transformed the other digital assets and how we look at things of buying and selling data, right? So, and the underlying concept behind the NFT is nothing but digital assets. So NFTs are really transformed the way that we buy data and sell data. So there's a lot of buzz in the market about how the future of buying and selling data in the market is going to be looked at as an NFT, and there's already a lot of practical examples going on. So just taking off from where we are right now, and probably the next conference, that's going to be a separate topic of, how others are using NFTs for using, selling, and buying data.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Amazing
you.
panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.